What's up, everybody? It is your boy, Sir Fear, aka Big Slap. Thank you guys for tuning in to episode 4 of Atlanta's Most Haunted Locations. Now, this is a special edition right here. This is the Savannah edition. Make sure you stay tuned. You're not gonna wanna miss this.
Something is off.
Y'all heard that?
This place is full of spirits.
Savannah, Georgia, founded in 1733 by James Oglethorpe, is one of the oldest cities in the United States and has a rich history that spans colonial, antebellum, and Civil War eras. As the first planned city in Georgia, it was designed with wide streets, public squares, and a layout that remains largely unchanged today. The city also played a significant role during the American Revolution and the Civil War, with key events such as the Siege of Savannah in 1779 and General William Tecumseh Sherman's famous March to the Sea in 1864. Known for its preserved architecture, historic squares, and vibrant cultural scene, Savannah's history is a blend of Southern charm, resilience, and complex legacies that continue to influence its identity today.
How you doing, Miss Enica?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm great. Cedric Carthurn, but everybody calls me Slap.
Nice to meet you.
Tell us your first and last name again.
Enica Edenfield.
That is such a unique name. I am located down here in Savannah, Georgia. For those of you who know, this is very exciting. I'm with this wonderful woman right here. She's gonna tell me exactly she's gonna break down some of the history about Savannah, Georgia that I just do not know. I've been down here for years. I've been down here several times, but I am super excited because I've never actually done a ghost tour here in this city. And this young lady right here is gonna take me on my very first one. And I'm super excited. Tell us what we're ready to hit to, we're about to head to now.
We are about to head to Taylor Square, which is the first square in Savannah named for a woman, also the first one named for an African American.
Very interesting, guys and gals. Let's get ready to head that way.
Savannah, Georgia is widely regarded as one of the most haunted cities in America, with a rich history steeped in both beauty and tragedy, making it a hotspot for ghostly legends and paranormal activity. The city's age-old cemeteries, such as the Bonaventure Cemetery and its many historic homes, are often linked to eerie tales of restless spirits. Among the most famous hauntings is that of the Sorrow Weed House, where reports of ghostly apparitions, strange noises, and unexplained movements have persisted for centuries. The Moon River Brewing Company, housed in a building that once served as a hotel and hospital, is also known for its poltergeist-like activity. Savannah's ghost tours attract visitors eager to explore these eerie sites, with many sharing stories of encounters with spirits from the past, from Civil War soldiers to tragic victims of the city's tumultuous history. The blend of Savannah's dark past and its southern charm creates an atmosphere that makes it a captivating destination for those interested in the supernatural.
My name is Enica Edenfield, and I'm the owner and operator of Enica Edenfield Tours. Originally, I am from the Florida Panhandle, but I moved to Savannah in 2010 to work in broadcast news here. Savannah is an incredibly haunted city. I did have some paranormal encounters prior to moving here, but I like to say that moving to Savannah, everything kind of got turned up to 11. This place is so haunted, you don't have to go looking for ghosts. Eventually, they'll just find you. When I first moved here, my neighbor from across the hall came over and warned me that his apartment was haunted and he might wander over to mine, but he wanted to give me a heads up just in case. And that kind of set the tone for Savannah. My news station was haunted. We would hear footsteps and voices in the early morning hours when there was no one else in the station. Come to find out way after I left, it was the ghost of an engineer who had passed away in the late 1980s. The dead are just like the living. You've got good, bad, and everyone in between. Most of my encounters here in Savannah haven't been too terrifying. There have been a few encounters that left me kind of unsettled. So far, knock on wood, none of them have left me running for my life.
So tell me, how'd you learn so much about the history here in Savannah?
I learned some of it working in broadcast news. My anchor, Kim Gusby, is the brains behind the Black History special that they do every year.
Interesting.
So I ended up learning a lot of history through her and through some of her stories. But in 2020, I was leaving that job to go to another job. Pandemic shutdown happens. That job goes away.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a job in 2020.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
But I started making videos about Savannah's weird history and ghost stories.
Okay.
And I would go live at night and walk around downtown with my dog.
All right, tell us about Taylor Square. Tell us about the energy here and tell me a little bit more about the history where we are right now.
There's a lot of history in this area. This area, starting in Whitfield Square down there, stretching over down here into Taylor Square. This whole area used to be a burial ground.
Oh, wow.
From roughly 1750 to roughly 1850, give or take a few years, this was a burial ground for both free and enslaved African Americans.
Holy cow. Wow. And it's weird that you say that because I can feel, as soon as we walked up, I told you, I can feel the energy shift as soon as we kind of step foot in this area. And normally when I feel that, that's normally an indication of strong energy or presences. I don't like to say a presence, I like to say presences because I just felt something. I started even getting chills, so I decided to hang up the cat balls right here to see if they go off when we were just talking more about this area.
Right, so this was the outskirts of town at one point in time. Savannah started off as 4 squares, everything outside of it was woods. This area wasn't developed until around the 1850s.
Oh wow.
So for a long time, this was the countryside.
Oh my goodness, wow.
So when I talk about this burial ground being used for about 100 years, give or take a few, this was the middle of nowhere. Slavery was rampant, it was everywhere.
Correct.
A lot of people immediately think of plantations, and yes, that was definitely a thing. So this was everywhere, and when these people die, they have to be buried somewhere.
Sure.
And of course, segregation
Yeah.
was a thing, and so they couldn't be buried in Colonial Park Cemetery, so they would be buried out here. And even though this was located on a map, there are maps of Savannah designating this area as a burial ground, but there's really no paperwork of who all was buried out here and where all they were buried.
Since you've been doing your tours here, have you ever witnessed or felt anything paranormal at this particular location?
So, yes. Little backstory, this burial ground was excavated in the 1850s when they were starting to develop this area. But there's no records, so they did the best that they could. In 2002, Georgia Power is laying electrical lines under the square. They locate a human skull over in that area close to the Massey Heritage Center.
Wow.
And then people have to start doing some work trying to figure out why there's a human skull in this square, which was not named Taylor Square at the time. And they realize, oh, this is built on top of a burial ground.
Holy cow.
But that was it. They were like, oh, that happened. Eventually they do ground penetrating radar out here and they confirm that there are no intact graves.
Wow.
But there's still the possibility of scattered remains throughout this area.
Oh my God.
And you could feel the energy in this
Absolutely.
area then without even knowing there was a burial ground.
Oh goodness.
I always felt like there was more people in the square than what I could see.
Wow.
And a lot of my friends in town who are mediums would tell me, we don't walk through this square.
Really?
We'll walk around it, we're not walking through it.
Oh my goodness.
Because they always felt like there were people in the square watching them, specifically from the trees. They felt like there were people in the trees watching them.
It's weird that you say that, because when we walked up, as soon as we stepped foot in this particular area, my whole, everything just changed. My whole body I just felt like something was watching me. It's weird that you say people feel like, mediums feel like people were watching them, because as soon as I walked up, I felt like people were immediately watching me. And I started getting chills and stuff in my arms. I was like, man, it feels different.
Yeah. To add insult to injury, both Whitfield Square and this square were named after notoriously racist men.
Wow.
So she starts a campaign to rename this square for somebody who better honors what this area historically is and what this area is now. Susie King Taylor was the first African-American nurse for the United States Army. She was also the first African-American woman to legally teach in Georgia.
Wow.
And the city council agreed. They took that guy's name off this square. And in August of last year, they unanimously voted to rename this Taylor Square in her honor.
That is so interesting. Wow. A history lesson, a very, very important history lesson right there, because I've never known that. Wow.
Yeah. Now, in February, they did a big renaming ceremony, and they unveiled all these new signs that say Taylor. And all these people gathered out here to witness this.
Wow.
The night before, though, they brought in lights. The city brought in lights, and they lit up this square, this beautiful gold color.
Wow.
And I knew they were doing that, and I was like, this is a moment. Everybody needs to see this, so I'm gonna bring all my ghost tours through that night.
Yeah.
I'm bringing my first ghost tour in. I crossed over into the square, and as soon as I set foot in the square, I heard a voice from the trees, and it said, "Now they see us."
Holy cow. Woo. Holy cow. What was your reaction when you felt that? When you heard that? I'm sorry.
It was,
Was it
I was
unsettling?
excited for them,
Yeah.
because this area has gone unacknowledged for so long.
Yeah.
And we don't know who all was buried out here. We don't have all their names, so we can't say, their, names
Yeah.
out loud. But at least we can acknowledge that they were here.
Pay them that respect.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How you feel? How about this? Before we leave this area, how about we try to pay respects of someone that may be in our presence and see if they respond to us with the cat balls? How do you
Sure.
feel about that?
Yeah.
Before we leave this specific area right here, I want to do a call to any spirits out here. If there's any spirits right now next to me and this beautiful young lady that wants to be acknowledged, that wants to be seen, you might feel like your story wasn't told. You might feel like your story wasn't brought to light. Feel free to let me and this young lady know that you're here with us, and we're just going to pay you all the respects in the world. If you're here with us, just make one of the balls go off. You don't have to be shy. You don't have to hide. We're doing this with all due respect. Sometimes, guys, they don't necessarily want to leave signs or whatnot, but that doesn't discourage, that doesn't take away the fact that I can still feel a strong presence.
So we are headed into Lafayette Square,
Lafayette Square, okay?
which is named for the Marquis de Lafayette, the Revolutionary War hero.
On a scale of 1 to 10, paranormal meter, what would you say as far as this place goes right here?
Oh, this place was built on top of something, not a burial ground like Taylor Square, but it was built on top of a jail.
Oh, on top of a jail. Oh man, I couldn't imagine like probably some of the horrific things they went through back in jail in those days. So this should be pretty interesting hearing more about the history that you're going to share with me here at this location right here. All right, guys, let's get ready to head over here. Let's see what this is going on.
are standing in Lafayette Square, and off of Lafayette Square is the Andrew Lowe House. Andrew Lowe was a cotton factor here in town. He did not own plantations, but he made money off the cotton plantations.
Interesting.
So there were a lot of cotton plantations outside of Savannah.
Yes, ma'am.
After the cotton is grown and harvested, you got to sell it to somebody. That's where cotton factors came in. They would find buyers for the cotton. They would ship the cotton and they'd insure it. So people like Andrew Lowe made money 3 different ways.
Wow.
While he is having this home built, unfortunately, his first wife passes away. But he and his first wife's mother and the children that they had move into this house. Eventually he would get remarried, and he and his second wife would also have children here. During the Civil War, he was Scottish, he was not American. He sides with the Confederacy. And then after the Civil War, he's decided that Savannah's changed too much. It's just not the same old Savannah anymore. So he moves his family to England. Now, while the Lowes lived here, a couple of streets over, we got the Gordon family, and the little Gordon kids and Lowe kids would play together. Eventually, one of the Gordon kids, Juliet, goes over to England to visit family and reconnects with her friends, the Lowes, including Andrew's son, William.
Wow.
They fall in love, they get married, they move to England. Eventually, she moves out of the house. She gets involved with a new organization that's starting in England called the Girl Guides, which was the female counterpart to the Boy Scouts. She helps establish a few troops in England, and after her husband passes away, she inherits the Andrew Lowe house, moves back here, realizes we don't have anything like the Girl Guides in the United States, so she starts calling all her friends who are involved with some of the girls' schools in Savannah and says, hey, we're gonna get something started in the carriage house back behind my home, bring your girls over. And that's how the Girl Scouts get started.
Wow. I love hearing about the history and whatnot pertaining to this city, because you're not only educating the people and the viewers, you're educating me also. Tell me about some paranormal experiences you might have felt or experienced here at this particular location.
Yes, so I had an encounter here, and one of my friends used to work here, and she told me about something that happened here as well. So I was taking a tour here. It was the first time I'd ever been in this building. Never been here before. My docent, the person who works for the museum, is taking us through talking about each room. He takes us upstairs to the 2nd floor. There are multiple bedrooms up there. Each one has a different color scheme. I'm walking past the blue bedroom, and I feel this wave of grief just spill out of the bedroom. And before the docent said anything, I was like, ooh, somebody in this room was going through it.
My goodness.
Remember how I said Andrew Lowe's first wife passed away?
Correct.
And his mother-in-law moved in with them?
Yes.
That was her suite. That was the mother-in-law's suite.
Oh, man.
So she's moving into this house right after losing her daughter.
Yeah, that's where that grief, yes, it would make sense.
So one of my friends was a docent here. She worked here, and she told me about an encounter that happened while she was here. She said these 2 women come running up to her. They're very excited. They have been taking selfies in front of one of the mirrors in this house. They go back to look at the photo, and there's someone reflected in the mirror standing behind them.
Wow.
She showed me this picture. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of it, but in this photo, you can see the 2 women posing in front of the mirror. Reflected in the mirror behind them is the almost full-bodied apparition of a man wearing overalls.
Holy cow.
I say almost full-bodied. He was missing his head.
What?
And I said, girl, why do you have a headless guy hanging out in the Andrew Lowe house? She thinks it's connected to what was here before the Andrew Lowe house. At one point in time, there was a wall that went around the city, and part of that wall actually went through Lafayette Square before any of this was here, before the buildings were here, before the square was here, and right inside that wall was a jail. Where the jail once stood is where the Andrew Lowe house is today.
They probably beheaded them or anything back in those days.
So hanging was
Hangings,
the
yeah.
mode of execution back then. Also, some really sketchy things have happened in jails.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the thing with hanging. Hanging is morbidly a science.
Yes.
And if you don't do it correctly, sometimes you can actually pop someone's head off.
Yes.
Whether that's what happened to this guy or something else, who knows? But I do like to say that this is probably a step up for him.
Wow.
I'm sure he'd much rather haunt the Andrew Lowe house than some decrepit old jail.
Yeah.
So good for him.
All right, well, we heard a history lesson about this place, many stories, even the Girl Scout aspect of it, man. I had no idea that this is the actual location where this whole ordeal started, that whole organization. We're heading over to Madison Square next. This should be exciting. She is absolutely giving me a history lesson, more history than I ever learned while I was in school. So let's continue this let's continue this tour. Let's get rolling.
With so much bloodshed in this historic city off the coast of Georgia, there have been several reports of paranormal activity from frequent visitors of the city. Savannah's history is full of pain, death, and destruction. This city also has several Native American burial grounds. This city has endured several yellow fever epidemics, bloody battles, hurricanes, and slavery. Based on the research so far, Slap can see why this city is considered one of the most haunted cities in America.
All right, you told us about where we were heading to. Now tell us where we are exactly now.
So this area, Madison Square, is also built on top of something.
Man, is every
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's all built on top of something.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So when people...
We haven't
Oh
even
my
got started
God.
yet. Look at that. We haven't even got started yet. We're just getting ready to dive deep into what she's getting ready to break down to me. As soon as we walked in, I felt something everywhere we went, but when I walked in over here, I didn't feel nothing. I felt the actual positive energy. So whatever it is that's triggering that right there, I feel like it's something positive. So I'm gonna continue to let her talk. If you're here with us, you enjoy the story too. Go ahead.
So everybody always likes to say that Savannah's a city built on its dead. And yes, we have built on top of burial grounds. We've also built on top of battlegrounds. So this area was involved in the American Revolution. In fact, one of the bloodiest battles of the American Revolution took place in Savannah, and part of it took place in this area. In 1779, the siege of Savannah took place here for 4 weeks, starting in mid-September and ending in mid-October.
Okay.
The British had taken the city. They were starting their southern campaign. They were trying to hold on to the southern colonies, and they had taken the city. The Americans and our allies, the French, were going to come down here and take it back. They assumed that this was going to be really easy because they had more men and more guns. That is not how this went. The gods were not on their side. Murphy's Law was not on their side. Everything that could possibly go wrong on the American side goes
Went
wrong.
Yeah.
So it was a mess. So it starts in mid-September. By early October, the Americans think we need another plan. This isn't working. So what they decide is on the morning of October 9th, they're going to do a fake out on one side of Savannah, which at that time was only 6 squares. But they're going to do that fake out. They're going to draw the British's attention over there, and then they're going to run over to the other side of the city and do their full-scale attack on that side.
Wow.
Good plan, might have worked. October 9th was a foggy morning. They do their fake out, they start running over to the other side, kind of get lost along the way. So by the time the Americans show up on the other side, the British are there, they're waiting for them, and they just mow them down.
Oh my goodness.
Where MLK Boulevard is today,
Correct.
all those old railroad buildings are literally built on top of that battleground. This area that we're at right now is along Bull Street. Bull Street used to be one of the main roads in and out of early Savannah. There was a partial wall around the city. There was an armed gate here. So part of the siege took place in this area.
Holy cow. For those who don't know about the siege, this is an area where the battles were actually fought. And that would explain to me why the cat balls are going crazy over here. I've heard you talking, I can see them out the corner of my eye just every time you mention something. They're just going crazy, but there seems to be a lot of energy here. Since you've been doing tours here, have you ever came across anything paranormal or things that's kind of just jumped out at you or whatnot?
Oh yeah. I was filming in this square. I was filming over there on the other side of the square.
Okay.
Take the video I need. I go to set my camera down, and when I stand up, there's a man standing right in front of me,
Holy shit.
glaring down at me.
Did you feel like that spirit wanted to hurt you?
He seemed very inconvenienced by what I was doing.
Oh, okay.
I had time to register, oh my God, there's an angry man, and he just disappeared.
Jesus Christ.
There and gone in less than a second. This isn't the only encounter I've had here.
Oh
though.
man, you had multiple
We got
encounters.
more. There's more. I was out here with the tour group one night, and I was talking to them about that encounter. I go to motion to that area of the square, and I'm a little sensitive. I can pick up on some things here and there, and I was like, oh, there's someone over there. So normally on my tours, it's just a tour. I tell you the stories and the encounters. We don't go around with equipment, but I was curious. I wanted to see who was over there, so I asked my group, do you want to go over there with me and see if we can figure this out? And they were like, heck yeah. So we run over there, and I have a word generator app. And I turned that on, and it acts kind of like a spirit box, but without all the staticky noise in the background.
Correct.
And so I asked, were you the man who scared me? And we hear a man say, no. Okay. Were you here in 1779? Were you here during the siege of Savannah? And we hear two different voices this time. One says yes, the other says no, and then the second voice says DeSoto. That's the DeSoto Hotel.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, we got somebody from the siege, we have somebody from the DeSoto. Start asking a few more questions, and I guess I wasn't asking the right questions because they seemed to get bored. And so I asked, would you like to keep talking to us? And we hear a very stern male voice say, no, go away. And I said, thank you so much for your time. We're gonna leave you alone now.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that would have probably did it for me too. I would have been like, I respect your I will respect your wishes, and I will definitely go away. Where are we heading to after we leave this area right here?
We're going to go back to Monterey Square,
okay,
where I met up with you, and
correct,
I'm going to tell you about something that tried to attach itself to me.
I hope you guys heard that. We're continuing this tour. We're continuing this episode. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so far. Let's go. While we were exploring this area right here, me and this young lady right here, we decided to, she decided to share something with me that she's done before and actually got some readings back. So I'm gonna let her explain it to you. What we're gonna do, we're gonna see if we actually get something live on camera for you guys.
So I have a word generator app that I prefer to use. And I've gotten some pretty good interactions in this area. All different time periods, all different ages of ghosts as well.
Oh my goodness. This sounds very exciting. It also sounds very creepy because there's no telling what's gonna come across your word generator app.
No telling at all.
There's no telling. I'm interested, I'm intrigued, and let's see what we get.
Is there anyone here tonight? Did you say dad or dead?
It's a deep voice.
Hello.
I've heard hello. I heard hello. If you're here with us, who are you? That was
For a long time.
for a long time. Don't go? Sound like... Oh my goodness. There's so many different... I mean, it's like they're all trying to talk at one time, man. Ask them one more question and see if we get a clear statement.
Were any of you here in 1779? It's a lot of screaming.
It's a lot of screaming. Do you think their souls are being tormented?
I think some of them might be reliving what they went through.
Reliving the trauma and the pain that they went through. I mean,
Help me.
well, I just heard help me. Just heard help me crystal clear. That was crystal clear. Which would make sense where we're at. Someone was probably during the war, during the battle, whatever the case may be, they may have asked for help or whatnot. That didn't sound too inviting.
No, it did not. It did not sound friendly.
If you're wanting to talk to us, make the cat ball go off next to me.
Can you touch it? Can you tap it?
If you're trying to communicate with us, use your energy to tap the cat ball. It's so many different spirits and different energies talking to us at one time. I've heard several words, several sentences. I mean, that is absolutely insane, man. I literally have chills right now on my. Since I've been on this tour, I've had nothing but chills.
It's a very
And I
active
know it's
night.
cold, but it's a very active night. We're sorry. We're not trying to disrespect anybody. Any spirits that may be here with us or around us, do not attach yourselves to us. I hope that you rest in peace, and I hope that you find the peace that you're looking for during your time here.
Thank you. I heard go away.
Yeah. Go away was the last word that we heard, so we're going to do just that.
Yep.
Let's go.
Slap can confirm that Savannah, Georgia is indeed one of the most haunted locations in not only Georgia, but the United States. When traveling down to Savannah, have fun, but also be mindful of the many spirits that lurk throughout this city. Do your best to respect this city, and do not bring any spirits back with you to your homes.
We have returned to the area where we first began this tour. Break down to me why we have returned to this specific area.
So you mentioned that you knew somebody who had gotten an attachment.
Correct.
When I was first starting my tour company, my friend Rebecca, who some people might recognize as Rebecca the Ghost Guide on TikTok, she used to do ghost tours in North Carolina, and she warned me that I was going to a lot of haunted areas.
Correct.
She wasn't trying to freak me out, but just as a general warning, when you're going to haunted areas, the ghosts get familiar with you.
Yes.
And she warned me that some might try to get too familiar and try to follow me home. If that happened, I needed to set my boundaries and let them know they couldn't follow me, they had to stay there.
Okay.
That has only ever happened to me twice. One of those encounters was here. So I'm starting a tour in this square. We're starting to walk through the square, and I feel something behind us, which isn't unusual. I think, the ghosts get bored sometimes, and they're like, you look interesting, I'm gonna follow you for a bit. But normally they wander off after a while. No, at the end of the tour, I still feel them behind me. I leave my group, I go to my car, I get into my car, I feel whatever it is get in the back seat.
Holy shit.
This is July, you know how hot it gets
Yeah,
here
yeah.
in July. I am hot, I'm overstimulated, I just wanna go home.
Correct.
So I turn on that app and I ask, who are you? And I hear, nobody. I do not have time for this. Who are you? No, I do not have time for this. I don't know who you are. I don't know why you wanted to talk to me, but this is not the time. If you want to talk to me, pick a cooler month, pick November. That's when we can have a discussion. There's the door, go. And I feel whatever it is, get out of my car and walk off.
It's very good that you were able to recognize that and prevent that, because that could have caused a lot of pain, trauma, and just negative experiences in your life if you wouldn't have recognized that.
Yeah, I don't need any more roommates. I'm good.
thank you so much for your time. Thank you for this amazing tour and this history lesson that you provided me with. I really appreciate your time. I know Savannah is not in Atlanta, which the show is called Atlanta's Most Haunted Locations, but I wanted to come down here to Savannah to do this show because of the history here in Savannah, Georgia. Thank you so much for your time, for sharing your experiences. Tell the people that's watching this show, how can they find you and how can they book a tour with you?
Sure. They can find my website, Enica Edenfield Tours. They can find me on TikTok, Salt Waves Spanish Moss. They can find me on Instagram, Eni, E-E-N-I-E, Edenfield. None of my social media matches. I didn't do this on purpose.
Before we leave, Miss Enica, will you see if any ghosts are standing with us right now?
Sure. If there's anybody here, could you please tap this bag with the little balls in it?
We are about to leave this tour. This tour is coming to an end. I'm setting my boundaries for both of us and my entire crew. Do not attach yourself or follow us to our place of residence. Do you understand what I'm telling you? May you all rest in peace. And if you're not resting in peace, I pray that you find the peace that you're seeking. This is episode 4 of Atlanta's Most Haunted Locations, the Savannah edition. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. And do not forget to follow her on all her social medias and come book you a tour with her, because she has levels to this tour. Level 10, she'll scare the hell out of you like she did me. Level 5, she'll scare the hell out of your kids. Level 1, she'll scare the hell out of your dog. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.